Hi, Preschool Peeps. It's Cindy, Alison, and that was the dog.
Rusty.
Yeah, this is us home during COVID-19.
Yeah, welcome to my house.
Yeah. So welcome back to the podcast. We're glad that you're joining us. And we're here today to talk about something that drives Alison and I crazy. And that is the topic of who should be advising about what happens with education now. The answer is
People in education.
yes.
Teachers, superintendents, principals,
Mm-hmm.
teachers' aides, special ed.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss anyone?
Yeah, me, consultants who've been doing this work for the past 10 weeks. For the past 10 weeks, I have been helping people figure out how to do it based on what we do in real life with their schools. And so who should be figuring out what to do with education as we go forward? People in the educational world.
Yeah, the experts
also
in education.
Higher ed, also some higher ed people to figure that out, right? Mm-hmm. Like nobody should be figuring out higher ed, but higher ed people.
Higher ed, yeah.
Like people that should be, I'm sorry, but reach to your superintendents and your districts and your departments of education to figure this out. There are some states who are reaching toward people who have no experience in a classroom. Not to name names.
Not going to name names there, but you'll figure it out.
So to say that this is aggravating to teachers and to other educational professionals is beyond, it's like an understatement.
It's
and
like
I think
a slap in the face.
It's a giant slap in the same way that many educators have been slapped in the past.
I always felt that way, yeah.
I have a friend who pointed out, and she was absolutely right, and I agreed with it, and I said it also on my social media. It is part of the sexism and the elitism that sometimes takes place in among the powers that be, and it's not okay. You know what? You want to know how to reconfigure education to manage in this COVID-19 world? Guess what? Some of us have been doing that for 10 weeks already.
Yeah, we've been doing that. We redid education 10 weeks ago in this state. We did that. We did it.
What do you say when the government gets on your TV and says, teachers, we applaud you. We're so proud of you. You're working hard to make this work, but we don't trust you to plan it for the future. What is that?
I wish people could see my face if you're not watching, because it's like, really? Because we did it 10 weeks ago. We did that.
And you know what? And it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
It's
because
not.
We're learning as we go along. And yes, there's no replacement for in-person education. There's absolutely, because education, the foundation of education is relationship.
Right.
You learn better when you have a relationship of some sort with the people who are teaching you. I teach college online. It's always online, the classes that I do. And one of the things that we as online professors are rated on is how well we're establishing relationships with the online students. What are our responses to them like? What is our outreach to them like? What are the messages we send them? How individualized are we doing things? Because there's still a need to develop relationship of some kind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Education depends on relationships. So doing this remotely is never going to take the place of doing it in person. Not in a million years. And we don't know when we're going to be able to do it in person. So yeah, we have to keep refining our skills at this and figuring it out. And let's all remember that 10 weeks ago, we had no time to figure this out. At best, schools were given a day or two to figure this out. And we didn't know it was going to go on. We didn't know it was going to go on this long. Wasn't the original notion it would be a few weeks at most?
2 weeks. We were told suddenly we had a delayed opening so we could have a staff meeting in the morning. And they said, we're going to plan for 2 weeks, but we're not going to close anytime soon. We just need to plan for it. That was the first thing. And then 2 days later, they said, we're closing for 2 weeks. And that was it. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks. So we planned for 2 weeks. We planned, I had something planned for every day on my online. I sent home packets for 2 weeks of supplies. And then the governor said, no, sorry, you're not going back. And so then it was almost like another scramble, because you're like, ooh, I got to do this for another month at least. Yeah. And you didn't send home the supplies for a month and a half. You only sent enough supplies home for 2 weeks. So it was like,
Yeah, I work with many schools who have had to reship or ship again,
Yeah.
or drop things off on people's doorposts there, so that the children still had
And-
crayons and paper and glue.
even then, I think when my school did that the second round, you know, once we knew we were going to be closed for longer than 2 weeks, they said, okay, we'll do it for another month, because at that point it was a 30-day extension.
Mm-hmm.
And now here we are, it's the whole rest of the school year. But this is not perfect what we're doing now, no, but if you want the future to be perfect, then you need to tap into the teachers' minds, the educators' minds, the superintendent's minds to get it to be perfect. The people who are in it.
I teach child development, and it doesn't have to be me. Just somebody who understands child development should be involved. Please involve someone who knows child development, because right now the social emotional development of children is being impeded by this distancing, and someone needs to take that into consideration and figure out, well, how do we create a social situation with children, particularly the younger children, where maybe some of those social emotional skills can still play a part, because they're going to need those skills when they become adults, and they're losing the foundational time for using them. There are those of us who work in education who spend a lot of time with our noses in the research, who understand a lot of the longitudinal studies and the research done about how children learn best. But what has to be figured out now is how we do that in the scope of the curriculum that we use. Because in often is the case that the curriculums depend on us being in person. That's who they were written for, right? Yeah. They were written for us to be in person.
Yeah.
But who's going to figure that out better than people who've used the curriculum?
Who are in it. Yeah. People who used it, who do it,
I know I'm whining a little, but I find it to be the most frustrating situation.
It's taken me a lot not to swear right now.
I know. Please.
It's like, come on. Like, why does that always happen with teachers? Like, if it was a different profession, let's just say it was the medical field, okay? You wouldn't go to doctors to figure that out? You wouldn't go to the people who are educated in the medical field?
So what you're saying is that if something happens in the medical field, people should avoid coming to someone like me or you to solve that problem.
I don't know anything about the medical world, nor do I claim to. Okay?
Correct.
So why is it that it seems to be always in education, everybody else seems to know exactly what's perfect for teachers and for children, except for the teachers that are in it and who are educated in it?
So I'm going to go back to the statement of the age-old sexism. This is primarily a female profession. The age-old inbred, deep-seated sexism and elitist thinking, because teachers are not the most well-paid people or the wealthiest people in most cases. So there's all of these.
They're not well-paid because of all those issues.
Because of all these other things.
Yeah.
But there's like this hidden bias that plays out in the decisions being made sometimes. And I think that the purpose of this episode, I think, is not to call out particular people or governmental organizations or areas or regions or states. The purpose for me and Alison is to say, hi, parents and educators, you need to be louder.
Yeah.
You need to stand up and say, no, please go to the people who actually know to figure out what to do with my kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think coming from parents, that would be, at least on the district level, coming from a parent would probably mean more than the teachers, because the teachers are not in every district, but like, they're not always thought to know the right answers. You know what I mean? But the parents say something, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do it. You know, but if a teacher says it, they're like, I don't know, budget, or something. There's always an excuse. Yeah, it's always budget.
Part of the problem, I think, too, is that we haven't done a good job of banding together. Someone on Facebook said to me, like, I hear you. What is the solution, do you think? And I said, I think that organizations and associations from early childhood all the way through higher education need to sit together at a table. So we're talking about the national associations having to do with education as a whole, early childhood, higher education, sitting at a table together saying, okay, here's the situation we're in. We're going to work together. We're going to be one cohesive work group to figure out now the flow of education from early childhood on up over the next 5 years, assuming that this takes us 18 months or a little bit more to get a vaccine. Let's figure out the flow of what education will be and how we can make distance learning work at each age group that we represent, right? But the problem in education, and this is, I think, true across most of education, is that even the people who want to be heard, like teachers at all levels, we're not good at coming together like that. We're just not. It's very, what's the word?
Divisive? That's not it.
It's
Segregated?
it's fractioned or something. We're all in our little factions. We're all in our little factions, and they don't cross and they don't work together.
And as an individual, like me, so I don't want to be the only one to rock that boat. And then when they're like, I guess we got to lay some teachers. Oh, that girl. Oh, that woman. She didn't agree with what we were doing. You know what I mean? Like,
but it needs to come from the associations and the unions.
Everyone, if it was a big thing, like if it came from everyone, the associations, the unions, everything, then I would be like, oh, okay, look, I have people who support me. It's not just me. You know, it's several teachers in this school. It's several teachers in the state or whatever it is. But when it's just me speaking up, you're like, ooh, yeah.
You know, if they said as part of our work groups to figure this out, as part of our commissions to figure this out, we need a representative from early childhood. We need a representative from the grade schools. We need a representative from higher education. We need a representative, right? And I'm not talking about bringing thousands of people to the table, but they have to be at the table on equal footing, right? With like the superintendents, the Department of Education. It's the education community that should be figuring this out. But I think across the ages, and I think that teachers do have to insist on that as a group. We have all these things now, all these online petitions you can do where you can go as a group and say, here's what we think as a group. I think parents, folks, if you're listening to this and you're a parent, you should be contacting your Department of Education and saying, who is thinking this out exactly? Because we want the people who are on the ground. Our governor always says the boots on the ground people.
Boots on the ground.
We want our boots on the ground people to be the ones helping to figure this out, because they're the ones who are going to have to implement it. They're the ones who are going to know probably what will work best and what won't. They're the ones who have a membership to reach into their membership to say, here's what's happening. Just for sort of like this higher echelon to go, here's what we're going to do. That's not okay. So there are some states I know, like we're in our state, Alison, all of these different commissions or committees or whatever they're calling them, or work groups are being set up. And I think my perception is they're being set up pretty logically where we are. And that's not the case everywhere though. And I don't know if it's going to persist. And I'm very concerned for the future of education. You know, people were saying, oh, you know, Common Core is no good, or all the standardized testing. We're basing teachers' evaluations on standardized testing. Look, that didn't turn out so good. Well, guess where that came from? Work groups of people who were not educators. So there you go. And that's why we're this angry on this. We usually don't yell this much on the podcast.
No, we don't, but oh my gosh.
We're usually, if anyone tuned in for the first time today, we're usually a little cheerier than this.
Usually.
But this is so aggravating.
It's so aggravating that
I don't know, do you take, Alison's 100% right. If a farm is failing, do you go and get the hedge fund guy to figure it out?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't happen in other professions like it happens as much as it does in education. It's like everybody thinks they could be a teacher, so, oh, yeah, whatever. No. Just like not everybody can be a doctor. It's the same thing. So, like, I don't.
When they go to reopen hair salons, I think they should bring in you and me to determine how they should operate.
Oh, yeah, because I've been to a hair salon before, so therefore I'm an expert.
Exactly,
right? Just like people,
exactly my
people
point.
Like, oh, I used to go to public school, so therefore I'm an expert. No,
exactly. I was a child once, so therefore I know what to do with children. No,
I know what to do. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. I don't understand.
No, I mean I've gotten a haircut or two, but I don't know how to set them up for this.
No, and I would never claim to. Like, I don't understand these people who have such an ego that they're like, oh, I could just fix everything. No. Stop saying that you can. Okay,
no. I think if my bank came to me and said, Cindy, you have an account here. Can you tell us how to operate our lobbies now? I would be like, what?
What?
What? No, I can't figure that out.
Yeah,
I can't figure that out.
No, I don't know
Oh
how to do
my
that.
gosh.
But if you're asking me how to like reopen a school, I can maybe give you some tips.
I could at least know how to try to make work the blueprints that are being printed out now for this by bigger organizations. I can at least take this and go, well, in your setting, here's how I think that might operate. But I'm doing it from knowledge.
Right. And
oh
my God, I can't even. I just can't.
I think I could go on and on with these examples too.
I know.
You know what, folks? If you can figure out, I would love it. On our Facebook page, which is How Preschool Teachers Do It podcast, or in our contact form, go to howpreschoolteachersdoit.com and send us a contact. If you come up with another really good equivalent for I get haircuts, and I hope they ask me how to now set up their salon because I've once had a haircut. Like I once
football,
was
so
a
I know
student.
how to reopen. I watch football, so therefore I know how to reopen the NFL.
Although I have to tell you that when I watch the Olympics, I'm pretty sure that I can ice skate.
I do think that. I'm like, I could be a gymnast. I could do that.
I'm pretty sure they make it look easy. But
I do that for everything, though. Like
I know.
I just.
But
like,
I don't know. I mean, do you see me marching into the governor's office saying, "Let me govern for you"? I was once governed.
I was once governed.
Okay, now we're getting back to our sarcastic / funny.
Yeah. This is the
seriously.
real.
This is yes. All right. So if you come up, folks, with more examples of this, we would love to get them from you.
I would love to read them on one.
I want to read them on a future episode of the podcast, please. So please come up with one.
Come up with some and we'll read them.
Allison, maybe the best one we send some swag to. What do you think?
Yes,
how fun would that be?
Swag in a while. Yes, let's cheer some people up.
We haven't done swag in a while. Okay.
Do it. I think we should have something almost all the time doing because people need to cheer up. Okay.
They do. Okay,
and
so
when you get stuff in the mail, it's like the best. Like when I get packages, even packages
it's so much
ordered,
fun.
I'm like,
so much fun.
It's like Christmas.
Okay, so the current thing is if you send us an equivalent to I once was a student, so therefore I need to know how to, therefore I know how to fix education. If you send us an equivalent to that from another aspect of the world that we have not mentioned on this podcast already, we're going to pick some of the best ones maybe and have some swag shipped to you. Keep in mind, please, that the shipments are going slowly these days, but we will get it to you. We will do it. We are determined. I will put my mask on and take it to be shipped to you.
Office. Yeah.
Yes. So please do contact us with that because I dare you to think of better than I once got a haircut. So now I want to redesign your salon. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So with that and our sense of humor obviously returned, I think we should sign off. Yes. Please rate us. 5 stars would be great. 5 would be lovely, please.
Lovely.
And rate, review, share, subscribe, do all those things because as we said on the last episode, we actually do regular programming when it's not a national crisis or world crisis.
It's been like what, 10 weeks of
are we entering our 10th week?
I think so. Or is it 9?
I think so.
It might be 9.
No, I think it may be 10.
I think it's 10.
I think we've hit the 10. We've gone double digits on it, and we're in our 10th week of stay at home where we are.
Ooh, double digits.
Woohoo! All right. Oh my gosh. All right, folks, we are actually, this is like the longest goodbye. Reminds me of my great
Don't you feel
Bernice.
like now that your goodbyes are longer now that the virus is here? It's like on Zoom when you're saying goodbye to all your students.
It's
you're like,
longer.
bye.
We're like,
and they all have to
please
say bye.
Stay with me.
I know. Everybody's so lonely.
I know. All right. So we will catch you next time on the podcast, Oh Wonderful Peeps.
Yeah.